Welcome back, friends, to the second half of today's economic update. I am very pleased and proud to bring to our microphones and cameras Chris Smalls. He was an Amazon warehouse management assistant. He got fired in March of 2020 after he organized an employee workout to protest Amazon's failure to protect warehouse workers from COVID. He helped found the Congress of Essential Workers, a network of workers and allies fighting to protect workers from exploitative CEOs. Chris is president of the Amazon Labor Union based in Staten Island, New York, and he's famous for his Twitter handle, Shut Down Amazon. So first of all, Chris, thank you very much for giving us your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's begin with kind of the big question. Why do you believe, as you obviously do, and work to build a union for Amazon employees?
Sure. Well, the first thing is, they fired me after working at Amazon for nearly 5 years. I started with the company 2015. I was an assistant manager for 4.5 years there. Opened up 3 buildings in the tri-state area. And after I led the walkout in 2020, they terminated me over the phone. And from that moment, I felt that, what happened to me shouldn't have happened to anybody, especially in the middle of a pandemic. And what really was the icing on the cake was when Jeff Bezos himself held a meeting with his general counsel, David Sapolsky, his top general lawyer for Amazon. And in that meeting, they discussed to call me not smart or articulate to make me the face of the whole unionizing efforts against Amazon. So when I heard that, when that conversation leaked out to the public and to the media, I took it upon myself to pretty much continue advocating for workers' rights up until the point where about 11 months ago, we founded the ALU, the Amazon Labor Union, and we wanted to try our efforts here in Staten Island.
All right. Give me a sense. I mean, you already have answered this, but I need to ask you to expand a little bit. How hard is Amazon working to try to block or prevent or undermine what you're trying to do?
Yeah, for context, the campaign in Alabama, in Bessemer, Alabama, they spent, it's been reported they spent $25 million last year stopping that union campaign. And they were successful. That campaign results came in the company's favor. And they're doing the same thing here in New York. We're trying to unionize 4 facilities. So they spent the same amount of money or more. We're estimating at least $50, $60 million they spent on stopping us in the last 11 months. They're flying these union busters in from all over the country, even all over the world, some even from the UK. They're paying them anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 a day. They're holding captive audiences every single day, putting workers in classrooms, trying to pretty much create doubt on joining the union. And they've been doing this for the last 11 months since we started back in April of 2021.
And yet, Chris, I understand this, but, as a person who looks at the media every day as part of my life, I do get the impression, and I'd like your judgment here, that despite this kind of effort on Amazon, it's spreading. That is, the desire to form unions at Amazon locations, and of course beyond that, but particularly in your case with Amazon, seems to be growing despite their efforts. Is that correct? Am I reading that right?
I believe so. I believe ever since the pandemic started, workers been deemed essential workers. And I think we're realizing our value is a lot greater since these companies in these different industries accumulated so much wealth throughout the course of the pandemic, especially Amazon. Jeff Bezos made over $88 billion off of our backs. And I think now workers are now realizing we're worth a lot more. We need to be paid a lot more and treated a lot better. And you've seen the uprising of unions with Starbucks. You've seen all the strikes that have been happening across the country. I think the labor movement has a microscope on it right now, and I'm hoping that this union drive in New York will also be a catalyst for a revolution where unions will start to be back on the uprising in this country. Ever since the 1930s, we're talking about unions diminishing to less than 10%.
That's so important. I need to draw you out to get more from you about this. All those years since the Great Depression, since the 1930s, when unions really rose up and changed America, everyone involved has been wondering, when will the decline stop? When will the year by year smaller numbers, right down to the 10%, as you say? What is going on now that hadn't gone on 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago? How do you account for the fact that you're able to mobilize now, that people are moving, like you say, in Starbucks and all over the place, as well as we're all trying to figure out, why is this happening? Partly because it's important to know, but partly it's important to understand how best to sustain this kind of a change.
Yeah, I always mention 2020 was it's kind of like 2020 vision to a lot of systemic problems in this country. From the labor movement to the social injustice movement to the environmental movement, all these things are under a microscope as far as what the American people want in this country going into the future. Pre-COVID, a lot of things were just going and operating without people really paying attention. But when everything came to a stop, it seemed like workers and the working class people, we kind of realized that we can't just go back to what it was pre-COVID anymore. So now what you're seeing is, workers not just quitting their job, they're unionizing, they're organizing their workplaces. And that's what it's going to take to get to a better place and apply that pressure to our lawmakers. The laws need to be revamped. The 1930s obviously are not the 21st century anymore. And these industries that we're organizing have been crushing union campaigns for decades. And now we're at a point where, once again, the younger generation, myself and other activists, we're putting pressure on lawmakers to pass things like the PRO Act, which will protect workers to organize their workplace. And if they can't do that, we have to apply pressure on the NLRB, which is the National Labor Relations Board.
Let me ask your opinion on something. There's been a lot of attention over the last 4 or 5 months on the remarkable statistics about people quitting, walking away from a job because it's not bearable or it's not tolerable anymore to stay with it. But I remember thinking to myself, I understand the frustration and the anger and all of that. But if you leave a job, you're going to have to get another one, and you're going to face more or less the same kind of conditions. So that, is there a learning process going on where people quit and then realize that's not the solution, but organizing a union and changing the way the workplace is set up is a better solution? Is something like that going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Even myself, I wasn't a union organizer, and now look at me. I'm the current interim president of the Amazon Labor Union. I realized from working, being pretty much deemed an essential worker since I was, 16, 17 years old, my first job at Target. When you quit a job and you get another job, you're jumping from one fire into another fire. As you mentioned, more or less, it could be better or worse. And what I realized after Amazon, after pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into a company for nearly 5 years, and then giving it my best shot to move up in the company, and just for them to terminate me wrongfully, that pretty much woke me up to saying that something needs to be done. This can't just be happening to everybody and everybody just be okay with it. And I think now people are realizing, we can't just quit our jobs anymore, because that means nothing gets changed, nothing gets done. The system continues to operate the way it's been operating. But if you unionize, you organize your workplace, things can change. And I think that's what workers are realizing now as well.
Is it going on all over the place? In other words, I don't want to be, I don't want wishes to take over my brain. So I want someone like you who's right in the thick of it. Do you feel, do you see this really beginning to spread all over the place? Not just at Amazon, not that that wouldn't be a big breakthrough just by itself, but is this really now, can we talk about a general, you said it a few minutes ago, a general reawakening, let's call it, of the labor movement?
I believe so. And I believe, Amazon is obviously one of the most powerful retailers in the world in modern history, along with Walmart. And I believe workers are paying attention. I could tell you from my own personal journey that, workers have been reaching out to me from different industries for the last 2 years, ever since I've been terminated and been in the public advocating for workers' rights. So workers are definitely watching to see what we're doing here in New York and watching to see the outcome of this election. Win, lose, or draw, I believe that it doesn't stop anything. It only just, once again, show workers that it's capable, that it's possible to even get to this point. And I believe that workers are going to start unionizing at a rapid pace, because now they see that, once again, the CEOs of these companies are making billions upon billions on our backs, and they're flying to space and coming back and thanking us. That's just not going to fly with us anymore. If we're essential workers, that means that we're a necessity, and that means that they need us.
Okay, here's a hard question. You took a loss, that is the unionization effort that you mentioned earlier in Alabama and so on. But it looks as though, win, lose, or draw, as you say, this isn't going to go away, that these losses are not going to destroy the morale or be like a punch in the gut where you can't go forward. It turns out that the organizing effort knows it's going to win some, lose some, but the point is to keep going. Am I right that that's the kind of spirit that's now there, so that a loss here or there doesn't have what the owners wish it did, which is the effect of stopping the process?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even consider them to be losses. I just consider them to be, minor setbacks, because we're not going anywhere. The workers realize, even though they were unsuccessful last year, that Amazon spent $25 million trying to stop that campaign. They interfered with it. That's why the board ruled for them to have a rerun, which is actually currently going on at the same time. So hopefully they'll be successful the second time around in Alabama. But I'm here in New York, for sure. I can tell you, whatever happens at the end of our election, when the results come out, we're not stopping. Once again, as the current interim president, we already have the second election due for next month in April at our second facility that we organize. And I can tell you once again that I have interest in over 18 buildings all across the nation from different workers in different facilities that want to unionize. So for us, this is really just the beginning. This is really just day one for us.
Are you getting any help from the politicians? If you are, is it sufficient? What's the relationship between this effort, which affects so many people, and the political parties that run this country?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's not enough support that we have. As of recently, we started to have a couple politicians show up to our rallies and events. That was pretty much after we already filed for our petition. And as far as the public support, we don't have as much as we should. This should be one of the most talked about campaigns in the entire country right now. But unfortunately, we're not. And that doesn't it doesn't add up when you're talking about politicians that's on the left that stand in the labor movement, that stand up for workers' rights. There's a lot of progressives that claim that they stand on the solidarity with these workers, but I haven't yet had their support yet publicly, to the point where Amazon workers can realize that they do have this type of support. So they need to step up. That's guaranteed that they need to step up and also help out and support in any way they could with their platforms.
Well, thank you, Chris Smalls. I hope this program helps right there on that last point of yours to build support in the public and among the people who claim to represent us in the public. You are changing this country by the struggle you're waging, and you are a hero for many people, and you deserve our support. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And to all of my audience, I hope you have learned what is going on a bit in the labor movement. It is remarkable, it is crucial, and we will be talking about it more. I look forward to speaking with you again next week.